The building sat on the corner of Maple Street like an old king. Its tall glass windows were scratched from years of storms, and the stone steps had cracks from hundreds of hurried footsteps. Still, there was something special about it, a feeling that important things happened there. Inside the building was a company called Bright Tech. Once it had been full of excitement. People used to dream of working there. Now, things were different. The halls were too quiet. The lights sometimes flickered. Workers kept their heads down, worried about losing their jobs. At the top of Bright Tech sat the CEO, Mr. Gregory Harlow. He wore sharp suits and drove shiny cars. But his heart seemed made of stone. He didn't know his workers' names. He didn't care who was happy or who was struggling. All he cared about was looking powerful, even as the company sank. Down in the basement halls, there was someone very different, Mr. Ben, the janitor. Every morning before the sun rose, he would mop the floors and clean the bathrooms. He whistled while he worked and greeted everyone with a smile. Even when people ignored him, he never stopped being kind. The workers loved Mr. Ben. They said he could fix anything. A broken chair, a clogged sink, even a broken heart. Somehow, his quiet kindness made the heavy air in the building a little lighter. But Mr. Harlow barely noticed him. To the CEO, Mr. Ben was just part of the background, like the old walls or the dusty windows. Mr. Harlow believed Bright Tech belonged to him alone. He thought he could do anything he wanted. He had no idea that everything was about to change. As the months dragged on, things only got worse inside Bright Tech. The company's money problems grew bigger, but Mr. Harlow refused to believe it was his fault. Every mistake, every lost client, he blamed on the workers. His voice, once calm and strong, now cracked with anger during meetings. He shouted over tiny mistakes. He slammed doors so hard the windows shook. People learned to avoid him, ducking into offices, pretending to type when they heard his footsteps. The building, once busy with talk and laughter, became as quiet as a library. Still, Mr. Ben showed up every morning, just like he always had. His blue jumpsuit was always a little dusty, his hands rough from years of hard work, but his eyes were kind. When he polished the doorknobs, he hummed soft songs. When he passed someone carrying too many papers, he stopped to help, even if no one asked. Workers whispered in corner. Rumors said the company was trying to sell the building to stay afloat. Some said Bright Tech might shut down completely. Nobody knew the full truth, but everyone could feel it coming, like a heavy storm in the distance. Mr. Harlow felt it too, deep inside. But instead of admitting he was scared, he puffed himself up even more. He barked orders. He canceled the free coffee the workers loved. He said only the strong survive, as if that made it okay to be cruel. Meanwhile, Mr. Ben kept doing his work with quiet pride. He fixed broken light bulbs. He scraped gum off the sidewalks. He even brought in a basket of homemade muffins one morning, placing them carefully in the break room when no one was looking. No one knew it, but Mr. Ben saw everything. He saw the sad faces. He saw the fear in the workers' eyes. He even saw Harlow's anger and the fear hiding beneath it. But Mr. Ben just kept working, because sometimes, kindness isn't about being noticed. It's about being strong enough to care, even when the world forgets you. And soon, the world was about to remember Mr. Ben in a way no one could have imagined. It happened on a gray, rainy morning. The kind of morning that made everything feel heavier. The sky hung low over the city, and the wind pushed cold drops of rain against the windows. Inside Bright Tech, the workers moved even slower than usual, dreading another long day under Harlow's angry watch. Mr. Ben came in early, like always. His boots squeaked a little on the wet floor as he mopped the entryway, whistling a soft tune. He stopped by the front doors, wiping away muddy footprints left by rushing workers. He didn't mind. Rainy days just meant more work, and Mr. Ben never ran from hard work. Upstairs, Mr. Harlow was stomping through the halls, his face dark with frustration. A client had canceled a big contract that morning, and he needed someone to blame. His sharp shoes clicked loudly against the floors as he stormed toward the elevator, and that's when it happened. Turning a corner too fast, Mr. Harlow crashed right into Mr. Ben. The mop slipped from Ben's hands. Water splashed onto the shiny floor, and onto Mr. Harlow's expensive suit. For a split second, everything froze. Mr. Ben quickly bent down to grab the mop, apologizing softly. "I'm so sorry, sir." But Mr. Harlow didn't care about apologies. His face turned red with fury. "You," he shouted, pointing a shaking finger at Mr. Ben. "You're sloppy, useless. You can't even clean a floor right." The workers nearby stopped and stared, wide-eyed and frozen in place. Mr. Ben straightened up slowly. His face stayed calm, but his hands trembled just a little. "You're fired," Mr. Harlow roared. His voice echoed down the halls. "You hear me? Get out. I don't want to see your face here ever again." For a moment, it felt like the whole building was holding its breath. Mr. Ben didn't argue. He simply nodded, picked up his mop, and walked toward the front doors. His wet boots squeaked with each step. He didn't look back. He didn't say a word. Some of the workers turned away, ashamed. Others wanted to run after him, but fear glued their feet to the floor. Mr. Ben's reflection wobbled in the rain-soaked glass doors as he pushed them open and disappeared into the gray morning. Inside, the workers stayed frozen, sadness hanging heavy in the air. And Mr. Harlow, he smoothed down his soaked jacket, not even realizing how many people had just seen the worst side of him, not realizing he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. After Miss Ben left, the building didn't feel the same. It was like someone had taken the sunshine with him. The halls stayed darker, even when the lights were on. The floors weren't as clean. The air felt heavy, like a thick blanket nobody could pull off. The workers noticed it first. Coffee cups sat uncollected on desks. Trash bins overflowed. Small things that Mr. Ben used to fix right away stayed broken for days. A chair squeaked loudly. A light buzzed and blinked in the break room, giving everyone headaches. People missed Mr. Ben's quiet kindness, the way he used to fix things without being asked, the way he smiled at everyone like they mattered. Now, when the workers passed each other in the halls, they kept their heads even lower. The building didn't feel alive anymore. It felt sick. Even Mr. Harlow noticed, though he would never admit it. He walked through the halls with his usual angry face, but something gnawed at him inside. He didn't like how the workers whispered when he passed. He didn't like how cold the building felt, even with the heat turned up high. But instead of thinking about what he had done, Mr. Harlow told himself lies. "They're just lazy," he muttered under his breath. "They should be grateful they still have jobs." He didn't see the truth staring him right in the face. It wasn't laziness. It was sadness. It was the loss of someone who had made even the hardest days feel a little easier. Meanwhile, the rumors grew louder. People whispered in the stairwells and in the parking lot. Something big was happening. The building was changing hands, but no one knew who the new owner was. Mr. Harlow didn't worry. He believed that no matter what happened, he would stay in charge. He was too important, too powerful to lose anything. At least, that's what he told himself when he locked his office door at night and stared out at the rainy streets below. He didn't know it yet, but everything he thought was his was already slipping away, and Mr. Ben was just getting started. One sunny afternoon, just a few weeks after Mr. Ben had been fired, something strange happened at Bright Tech. A group of people in sharp suits arrived. They walked through the lobby with clipboards and serious faces. Workers peeked over their cubicles, wondering what was going on. Whispers floated through the air like butterflies. Mr. Harlow noticed the group too, but he simply smirked. Finally, he muttered, "Bye, time to show them who's boss." He straightened his tie and marched down the stairs to greet them, but when he tried to shake the hand of the woman leading the group, she barely glanced at him. "Mr. Harlow," she said crisply, "you're needed in the conference room." Confused, but still pretending to be important, Mr. Harlow followed them. The workers crowded near the hallways, pretending to work while secretly listening. Inside the conference room, the woman stood at the head of the table. She opened a folder and cleared her throat. "Bright Tech's building has been sold," she announced. "The sale was finalized 3 weeks ago." Mr. Harlow's mouth dropped open. "Sold? Without my approval?" The woman didn't blink. "It wasn't yours to approve. The debts Bright Tech owed were too long." The building changed ownership quietly to avoid embarrassment. Mr. Harlow's face turned a deep shade of red. He opened his mouth to argue, but the woman held up her hand. "There's more," she said. the new owner has decided on some immediate changes. Starting today, you, Harlow, are no longer employed at Bright Tech. The room spun. Mr. Harlow gripped the table to steady himself. But, who bought it? He demanded, voice shaking. The woman smiled slightly, the first smile she had shown all day. Please welcome the new owner, she said, stepping aside. The door opened, and in walked Mr. Ben. He wasn't wearing his janitor's uniform. He wore a simple gray suit and clean shoes, but his kind smile was exactly the same. Gasps filled the air. Some workers dropped their pens, others stared with wide eyes. Mr. Ben nodded politely. Good afternoon, he said calmly. Mr. Harlow's face twisted in shock. You? He sputtered. You're just a janitor. Mr. Ben's smile didn't waver. Not just a janitor, he said softly. I'm also a man who made some smart investments a long time ago. He explained that years ago, while working as a janitor, he had started buying small properties. Little by little, he built his fortune, but he never left Bright Tech because he loved the people. He loved the feeling of being part of something. I stayed because this building mattered to me, Mr. Ben said, his voice full of emotion. The people here mattered. Meanwhile, Mr. Harlow stood frozen, completely silent for the first time in a long time. There was no yelling this time, no slamming doors, just a quiet, powerful truth filling the room. Mr. Ben was no longer the janitor. He was the owner, and Mr. Harlow had no place here anymore. For a long moment, no one moved. Mr. Harlow just stood there, staring at Mr. Ben like he couldn't believe what was happening. The woman from the legal team broke the silence. Security will escort you out, Mr. Harlow, she said firmly. Two guards in dark uniforms stepped forward. They weren't rough. They didn't need to be. Mr. Harlow looked smaller somehow, like a balloon with the air slowly leaking out. His fancy suit, his shiny shoes, none of it could save him now. Workers watched from their desks as Mr. Harlow was led through the halls. Some felt sorry for him, but not many. Most remembered the shouting, the fear, the way he had treated people like they didn't matter. He passed the spot near the lobby where he had fired Mr. Ben, only now, it was him being pushed out the door. The difference was clear. When Mr. Ben had left, people had looked away out of sadness. When Mr. Harlow left, people looked away because they simply didn't care. Outside, the afternoon sun shone brightly, almost too bright for Mr. Harlow's tired eye. He stumbled down the steps without anyone offering to help. The giant glass doors of Bright Tech closed behind him with a soft thud. Inside, the workers stood in silence for a few moments longer. Then someone clapped, one person, then two, then Soon the building was filled with the sound of clapping, not because they were happy someone lost their job, but because they were ready for a new beginning. They were ready for kindness to win, and at the center of it all stood Miss Ben, smiling in the sunlight streaming through the tall windows, ready to make things right again. The next morning, when the workers came into Bright Tech, everything felt different. The building was still old, the windows still a little scratched, but the air felt lighter, like someone had opened a window and let the fresh breeze in. Mr. Ben stood at the front desk, greeting everyone with a smile, but he wasn't standing there as the janitor anymore. He was standing there as the owner, the heart of the company. Yet, nothing about him felt proud or boastful. He still wore a simple suit. He still shook hands with the workers. He still listened closely when someone spoke, like their words really mattered. In a short meeting, Mr. Ben shared his plans. No fancy speeches, no confusing business words, just clear promises. He promised better treatment for the workers. He promised respect and honesty. He even brought back the free coffee everyone missed so much. More importantly, he promised that Bright Tech would be a place where people felt safe, where they could grow without fear. Some of the workers cried quietly, their hearts full of relief and hope. Others laughed for the first time in months. It felt like the building itself was smiling. Mr. Ben didn't change everything overnight. The cracks in the walls were still there, but the cracks in people's hearts, those started to heal. Because real leaders don't need to shout, they don't need to scare people, they lead with kindness, and kindness is stronger than anything else. Mr. Ben had always known that, and now, finally, everyone else knew it too. Over the next few months, Bright Tech changed in ways no one had thought possible. The building got small repairs, fresh paint on the walls, new lights that didn't flicker, soft chairs in the break room. Workers' faces began to shine with pride again. They laughed in the halls, stayed late not because they were scared, but because they wanted to build something good. And at the center of it all was Mr. Ben. He didn't hide in a big office. He walked the floors every day, checking in, listening, helping. When someone needed advice, he gave it. When someone made a mistake, he didn't shout. He taught them, lifted them, helped them try again. The lessons Mr. Ben had learned from years of quiet work stayed with him. Respect every job, no matter how small. Respect every person, no matter what their title is. Kindness is not weakness, it is strength. Sometimes, visitors came to the building and asked to speak to the owner. They expected someone tall, flashy and full of fancy words. Instead, they found Mr. Ben, soft-spoken, smiling, and stronger than any businessman they had ever met. Mr. Harlow was barely a memory now, a shadow that faded more with every bright new day. The building on Maple Street stood taller, prouder than ever, not because it was perfect, but because the people inside it believed in each other. And at the heart of it all was a man who had once been seen as just a janitor, a man who showed everyone that true power isn't about shouting the loudest, it's about caring the most, and that kind of power can never be taken away.